Assignment 3, Project Evaluation Report, the Golden Plains Wind Farm. The brief for Assignment 3 was to expand upon our previous research, elaborating on our group's chosen project and how it differs from proposed alternatives. Through much deliberation, our group has chosen our original project proposal, the Golden Plains Wind Farm, over the development of a smaller scale wind farm in Spain, which was our chosen alternative. The project analyzed by our group was the Golden Plains Wind Farm, the construction of a renewable energy plant in Victoria with over 215 turbines and a battery storage facility with the capacity of 300 megawatts. The aim of the project was to produce over 4,000 gigawatts per hour of electricity annually, with this wind farm which would generate enough power to supply upwards of 765,000 homes. The project, in succeeding, would also reduce Australia's annual carbon emissions by 4.5 million tonnes, all the while creating new jobs in the renewable energy sector for the local economy. The Golden Plains Wind Farm would be instrumental in achieving Australia's renewable energy goals and help meet the government's reductions aimed for by the end of the decade. This was chosen over our alternative, which was to build a smaller scale wind farm in Spain which would offer various alternate benefits, particularly for areas where energy demand might not require such a large installation as the Golden Plains Wind Farm. By designing a project with fewer turbines and a smaller storage facility, the initiative would still contribute to Spain's renewable energy goals, albeit at a more localized scale, whilst reducing upfront costs for the company and environmental impacts caused by the project while continuing to support energy needs in specific regions aiming to reduce their carbon footprint. The company at the head of the project, TAG Energy, is an international renewable energy company known for developing and investing in competitive and clean power stations in 5 countries. TAG Energy has substantial backing through a total asset count of 167 million and a lower leverage due to total debt being at 3.58 million. TAG Energy is also backed by Exor, a holding company based in Europe who's expanded their renewable energy portfolio through the acquisition of TAG Energy.
Plains wind farm project will be a smaller 220 megawatt wind farm located in Spain. We chose Spain because of its favorable landscape and established regulations for wind energy development. The alternative will utilize advanced Vestas turbines optimized to maximize energy output and minimize maintenance costs, whilst also adhering to local environmental standards. This project will not only contribute to Spain's renewable energy goals and reduce reliance on fossil fuels, but also generate various employment opportunities during construction and operation, ultimately stimulating local economic growth. To determine the initial capital cost of both alternatives, we calculated using cost per kilowatt. By breaking down the starting costs into 3 main categories, wind turbine cost, balance of system cost, and soft costs, we arrived at a total initial startup cost of $1,750 per kilowatt. As you can see, Alternative A carries a significantly higher initial capital cost of around $2 billion compared to Alternative B, $385 million. This disparity is primarily due to Alternative A's larger scale. For ongoing operation, costs like management, administration, fees, and insurance add up to $14 per kilowatt. Maintenance expenses, including labor, materials, and equipment, contribute to an additional $26 per kilowatt. As expected, Alternative A's larger scale translates to higher operating and maintenance costs. We estimate approximately $18 million annually for operations and $28 million for maintenance. In contrast, Alternative B's costs are slightly lower at around $3 million and $5.72 million. To assess the potential benefits of each project, we calculated the estimated annual revenue from electricity sales, assuming a conservative electricity price of $50 per megawatt hour and estimating that the wind turbines have a 53% capacity factor. We projected an annual earning of around $309 million for Alternative A and $51 billion for Alternative B.
This slide covers through the cash flow statement. The project generates approximately $309 million in annual revenue, achieving positive operation profits from year 1, and by year 25, the net income is to be $125 million despite initial depreciation. Moving on to the investing activities, there's a $2 billion investment turning into 1.4 by the end of year 25. The debt management is strong as the increase decreases from 45 to 15 million over 25 years, as well as the principal repayments, which will annually reduce our debt burden steadily. Moving on to the profitability, the NPV showcases 106 million over a benefit cost ratio of 1.04 and IRR as 7.65%, showcasing strong financial viability. Moving on to the parameters and their costs which affect the NPV. as the profitability hinges on NPV. So here in the sensitivity analysis table, we found that in some scenarios that the construction costs and electricity prices heavily influence the project's NPV. These confirm the result of increases in construction costs can cut the NPV substantially. However, rises in electricity prices, such as 10%, will boost it. Operational costs will remain to have a minimal impact. Inflation can significantly affect this financial health, and potentially squeezing these project profit margins can confirm the need for careful monitoring. Now, moving on to the effective risk management. This is how we will continue to approach the success. So that would be through identifying, analyzing, evaluating, and mitigating the major risk. So we will control the construction cost as we secure fixed price contracts with vendors, preventing budget overruns and ensuring predictable spending. And establishment of long-term purchase power agreements will lock us into electricity prices, which will protect us from market volatility. So lastly, the predictive maintenance strategy will allow us to monitor the equipment in real time, addressing potential issues before they cause downtime and ensuring steady power production.
Hi, my name is Musa and I'll be taking you through the financial evaluation for the two project alternatives, focusing on four key indicators: net present value, internal rate of return, benefit cost ratio, and payback period. These indicators each play a vital role in determining a project's economic feasibility. Net present value measures the difference between cash inflows and outflows, helping us understand overall value creation. Internal rate of return gives the return rate at which a project breaks even, while BCR compares the value of benefits to costs, showing project efficiency. Lastly, the payback period reveals the time it takes for a project to recover its initial investment, indicating its exposure to risk. For both alternatives, as can be seen on the screen, we use consistent assumptions, including a 25-year project life, a 6.57% discount rate, and each alternative's respective values for capital cost, operating and maintenance costs, benefits, and salvage value. These assumptions provide a standardized basis for comparing financial outcomes. Now, looking at the results, which can be seen on the screen, Alternative A shows a positive net present value of $105.96 million, an internal rate of return of 7.65%, which is above the discount rate, a BCR of 1.04, and a payback period of 10.8 years. These values collectively indicate that Alternative A is economically viable, creating value above cost. Conversely, Alternative B has a negative net present value of $19.27 million, an internal rate of return below the discount rate at 5.63%, a BCR of 0.96, and a payback period of 14.8 years. These results highlight that Alternative B lacks the profitability and efficiency needed. In summary, based on these four indicators, we can determine that Alternative A is a recommended investment for achieving sustainable returns.
Now, for the recommendation, brings us to three main points, which is the scale and the financial return, alignment of policy and market demand, and then effects on the environment and the community. Now, at Golden Plains, with a 1,300 megawatt capacity, Golden Plains is well positioned to provide a sizable income. Economies of scale allow for cheaper costs per unit of energy produced, which is advantageous for large-scale projects. Profit margins increase as a result, and stakeholders receive a higher return on their investments. Now, for the counterpart Spain project, the smaller project in Spain has a restricted capacity, which limits its potential for revenue and probably raises the cost of energy per unit. In contrast to the bigger Golden Plains project, this might result in lesser returns for the stakeholders involved. Alignment of policy and market demand. Now, that takes us to point two. With the Australian renewable market, it's driven by very strong demand for clean energy and government incentives to achieve those purposes. Australia's renewable energy industry is growing very quickly. The Golden Plains project is positioned for long-term stability and expansion since it fits in nicely with these market dynamics. For stakeholders seeking steady returns, this steadiness is advantageous. For the European market, however, despite being a leader in renewable energy, Europe's market is a lot more developed and saturated, which can increase competition and restrict the opportunity for smaller projects to thrive in that environment. Now, point three is the effects on the environment and community. At Golden Plains, the project will boost rural Victoria's economy and provide jobs in addition to producing renewable energy, which could increase in the government and public support. Now, stakeholders' confidence is raised and long-term value is added by this community influence. Over in Spain, the impact on a smaller scale is, although Spain is it's a very similar project, advances renewable energy objectives, its smaller scope has a comparatively smaller influence on environmental and community advantages. Now, in summary, the Golden Plains wind farm project is a better option for all parties involved, being government, stakeholders, and citizens, since it offers more social and environmental advantages, high financial returns, and is in line with market demand. Thank you very much.